Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X gamer here, and today we're going to talk about Young Ripa, his company, and what he's going through with his Isom comic book, his trademark, what have you. Now, guys, first of all, the most important part of this video is this. What I'm about to say is not legal, financial, or any type of advice. I'm just some guy on the internet talking smack, giving my opinions for your entertainment. I have to make that super clear in this case because we're talking about now a legal case, which I have no expertise on. And if you really want some expertise rather than opinion, you need to consult a professional and maybe a financial professional and anything else. If you're in this type of situation, you should not be looking at information on YouTube from guys who are making coffee while they're giving their opinion. Now, why do I say this, guys? Look, when it comes to this case, it's very interesting to a lot of us looking at it from the outside. Right? What is it that we know and what is it that we don't know? We have here a young man, whatever, made a company through whatever means, okay? And there's different points of views on whether you like this guy or you don't like this guy, you like his politics, don't like his politics. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the guy put out two comic books that some people like and some people think that are complete garbage that raised millions and millions of dollars. And that hurt a lot of feelings. Definitely hurt a lot of feelings, made a lot of people salty that had been in the industry, quote unquote, that did it whatever the right way is, whatever the establishment is, that were not as successful, right? And look, those who can do and those who can't talk shit, right? And that is in any industry, whether it's comic books or cars or anything else. Whenever somebody's successful at something that maybe some people have been doing for a long time and not as successful, and I don't care what business you're in. It doesn't matter if this guy was making pencils, over $4 or $5 million, whatever it is of sales. It's quite an accomplishment in business. Now, you did it by hook or crook. That is what a lot of people claim. I don't know, right? I don't know, and it really doesn't matter. Building something is a lot harder than talking shit, right? I have a lot more respect for somebody that actually starts a business and makes a successful business over somebody that just sits there and just, flaps their gums asking for donations. That's just me. That's my opinion, right? Now, as you find out more about people, whatever the case may be, maybe I'll change my opinion based on evidence, right? An actual evidence. But until I see that, if you ask me, who would I rather talk to, a businessman that started a successful business or some guy that just gives his opinions on the internet while taking donations, I'll always take the businessman because the harder route is always the better route, the one that'll teach you more. Anybody can flap their gums and ask for money. Anybody can do that. Now, guys, when it comes to this particular case, what is it that's being alleged? What is the suit here? What's going on? Now, the purpose of this video is for you guys to be informed, for you guys to be entertained, for you guys to think about this, right? And did he make a rookie mistake by using a name that was already used? Did he have a prior agreement? I don't know. I only comment things I can document on, and I don't have enough information. Now, a lot of people are assuming, right, that this company suing him had no contact with him prior or what have you. I don't know. That is, if I read this lawsuit correctly, they're going for the jugular, right? So I would have to think that they had no prior arrangement, right? Now, what is it that his response alleges here, somewhat alludes to, in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, right? He is actually talking about tortious interference with a business relationship. Now, there's a lot of guys out here on the internet, guys, and I don't mean this to take shots at anybody. I don't, don't take this as I'm talking about your favorite creator or whatever the hell. This is just in general. A lot of people here on YouTube pretend that they're, whatever they are, right? They pretend they're, I don't know, business analysts. They pretend that they're journalists. They pretend that they're comedians. They pretend all this other, whatever, right? Of course, being a comedian, all you have to do is actually stand up and start, either writing comedy or doing stand-up. When I think of a comedian, I think of somebody that's, doing stand-up on clubs and stuff like that. When I think of a journalist, I think of somebody that's working for a business, right? A newspaper, a magazine, what have you. And when I think of, somebody that's giving out business advice, somebody with a business degree, a financial planner, a registered financial planner. And if you're giving law advice, you think you're a lawyer that has actually passed the bar. That's what you would expect. But that doesn't happen here on the internet. It's very easy to pick up a phone or a camera and just start talking, right? Just talk. Well, you can have your commentary about anything. You could talk about fair use. A lot of people get locked into this world of YouTube where you think you can just, do something and say, well, it's fair use because I'm commenting on this. Yes, and most of the time you're right. You're commenting on something that somebody else did, which is really the easiest form of entertainment, right? Because you're not coming up with anything original yourself. And if we really have to be honest, it's kind of some of the laziest content creation, because you're waiting for somebody else to do something and then you're just reacting to it. You're just commenting on it. Sort of like I'm doing here, right? I didn't have to prepare hours and hours to do the smack talk that I'm doing right now. But if you don't put out your disclaimers, if people that are listening to you don't know that you're just some guy talking smack, right, then they might take you seriously. Number one. Number two is, let's say you're pretending that you are an entertainer. And let's just talk in generalities here, right? And let's say you think that you're an entertainer. Let's say you think you're a comedian. I do this for chuckles, right? And people can sometimes cross lines and just say, hey, I was just joking. I was just joking. It's part of my shtick. It's part of my show, right? Now, let's not talk about this case in particular because this is still being resolved. But let's just talk in general. I want you to ask yourself, how many comedians that joke about a business, let's say they're joking about Big Pharma, for example. How many comedians do you know actually do investigations in the background? How many comedians do you know, how many entertainers do you know that go in the background and contact, business partners, business relationships, in order to get a chuckle, right? To put it on their show. You're not going to find many. You know why? Because they're not fucking idiots. That's why. Now, if you want to know whether you are a legitimate, whatever you think you're pretending to be on the internet, ask yourself this. Do you have insurance? Do you have insurance for what it is that you're claiming you are? If you're a business consultant, do you have insurance for that? If you claim that you're a lawyer, do you have business for that? And if you're an independent, quote unquote, journalist or quote unquote an entertainer of your own entity, company, whatever the hell it is, do you have insurance for that? That would make you a legitimate business, along with all the other registrations that a regular business might have. Now, it might have been a very bad idea for any business, in this business in particular, but for any business to start up a business with a name that's already out there. I mean, that's 101. If you have a business that's suing you, the most reasonable conclusion that you could make is that you didn't do your due diligence when you picked your name. And that can come back to bite you in the ass, which means money. Whenever you're involved in these kind of lawsuits, usually the first thing your lawyer will tell you is to shut the hell up. Just shut up, because you might hinder the negotiating process, whatever that might be. Just in general, I don't know this for a fact in this case. When I saw his video, I saw some cuts in there, so it might have been reviewed by his lawyers. I don't know. Right? That's just a supposition on my part. I don't think it was very wise. I mean, I wouldn't have done it to put a video out there. I would just gotten in and go for the, whatever my rights are, depending on what my lawyer said. But we live in a litigious country here in the U.S., for those of you listening abroad. Anybody can sue you for anything. For anything. Whether it's trademark, or maybe they think you're interfering in their business. Right? And what could that interference be? Well, if you don't know behind the scenes, and you just start calling, for example, right? I'll give you my example. Right? When I was talking about in television and Tommy Tallarico and all that, give you my opinions on what I saw and what was being produced. I never once called any of the companies that they were doing business with. I never called, I don't know, what is it, BGG Entertainment, whatever, or anybody else to find out the nitty gritty, or to ask, or to say, hey, did you know that this guy X, Y, or Z? Number one, it's none of my business. Number two, it would be quite stupid of me to do, because I could get myself into hot water. I don't know what's going on in the background. I'm not going to play pretend like that. And, I'll just stay in my lane, whatever my lane is, which is just commentary. I'm just going to stay right there. Number one, because Tommy Tallarico has more money than I do. He can hire a lot better lawyers than I can. And in court is, as they say, what you can prove and how long you can have lawyers for. If a person has more money than you, they can out-lawyer you very simply, because what are you going to get? You're going to get one lawyer that you can afford. He'll charge you $5,000. It's one guy that's trying to help you, along with everybody else that he helps. Just in general, right? I'm just giving you an example of what could happen, not reality. And, if you're going against somebody that has quite a bit of resources, they can hire a bigger law firm with a team. Now, if you have a team of lawyers going in there versus your one lawyer that's the only one you can afford, who do you think is going to be better prepared for the case? Even if you do believe you have a strong case and you think you're in the right, again, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter how you feel. It only matters what you can prove in court, and how the court is going to rule, how the judge is going to rule, and all those other things. But I'd rather not be involved in any of that shit. Why? Why would I want to put myself in that position where I'm sticking my nose into somebody else's business besides just giving my opinion? Because I can give my opinion all day. It's a very different thing to start acting on your opinion. Right? That's just a warning to you guys out there. You can talk all the smack you want to, but it's a very different thing when you act against a person by X, Y, or Z reasons. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened in this case. I'm just telling you to be careful. One thing is to commentate, and one very different thing is to act. And to say, we did this as a team, for example. Right? If all, let's say all the detractors of Intellivision, we all claimed that we were part of this block, that we did all these things in order to ruin the company. I wouldn't want to be part of that. Hell no. Absolutely not. And I mean, that wouldn't have been the reason why this company went belly up. But nobody want to be in that position. I could tell you I wouldn't want to be in that position at all. Why? Because you can fall into, depending on what state you live in, and this is very important. You might think that in your state it's more liberal, in some other states it's what have you. It really depends on what state you are. But what is torturous interference, right? Let me just give you layman's terms here. Layman's terms. Right? Let's say that a contract existed between two companies, whatever they may be. Let's put an example similar to what is being said here. Let's say that I had an egg company and I wanted to donate to B company over here. And if I did it in a certain amount of time, it would give me some tax benefits. And, it was worth money to my company to do that, right? Maybe it's not exactly the amount that the organization wanted to get, but I am giving them something of value and would benefit my company in a certain way. What if I had a, handshake deal with another company to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to use this, right? And we're going to be okay as long as I don't do X, Y, or Z, right? Let's just give that example, right? So that's like if a contract existing between two businesses or a business is an individual, and a third party, somebody that's not involved in the contract, that is valid, right? To that point is valid, but that there's an outside source, right? So somebody that doesn't like me out there found out that I was doing this egg deal. And that outside source, that outside party purposely and wrongfully disrupted my contract by saying, hey, did you know this guy, sometimes he pisses out his eggs. Or, they're not actually chicken eggs. He gets other birds' eggs mixed in there. And that interference caused harm to that contractor, to that party, right? To what we're doing. That could be considered, right? Interference. What if the business had a relationship with another business or individual, and somebody comes in and starts sending information, right? A third party again. And they're doing it out of malice for the whole purpose of ruining my relationship or causing my business harm, right? Would that be considered? That's something you have to consult with your lawyer. But it's, if it was me, again, I wouldn't even start on this shit. I wouldn't go calling on anybody, because you can claim you're a commentator all you want. I can claim that I'm an entertainer all I want, that I'm just talking smack on YouTube, and that I'm, just doing it out of fair use, this and that and the other. But the minute I start picking up phone calls and start contacting companies that have contracts between each other, I could get myself into fucking hot water. Really deep hot water. And you might think, well, I don't have anything. How the hell they're gonna sue me? Oh, they can sue you just like they sue you for child support. Maybe you don't have child support, but if you lose a case of this nature because you're just talking shit, and you're out there screwing around, you're doing it for shits and giggles, you're doing it for the show, and you went beyond the norm of just commentating and making fun of somebody, and you actually took action, then you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. You can say you're joking all you want. Well, a judge might think differently. Yeah, you sound like you were joking, but you said actually here's something that was actually factual. Is everything that you say on your show a joke? Let me see the disclaimer. Is that disclaimer a proper disclaimer? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I can't answer all these questions, right? And I would rather not answer any of these questions and not be involved in any of this crap by not taking that extra step and, interfering with anybody else's business or sticking my nose where it doesn't belong, right? And I'm not saying that happened in this case. I'm just saying in general, It's not something that you should do. If you if you're not a legitimate business, if you're not, any of these things, that you control somebody for shits and giggles, but there's a very big difference between trolling and interfering in a contract that's already signed. It's huge. Now, if I read this lawsuit right, they're going for the jugular here. They're going for everything in Mr. Ripa's. Now, he says he wants to move in silence. Now, he should have been silent before. You can, boast of your success without saying numbers. Once you start throwing millions of dollars out there, it's going to piss people off, especially the kind of people that don't like him, right? That are very activist driven, let's just say, right? That tend to take these type of actions. Why make it harder on yourself? If you know that there's artists out there starving that can't get paid, they can't sell their comics. And let's just take it in face value. Let's just say their comics are better for whatever reason, whether with the artistry or whatever. You made a great comic, and guess what? Nobody gives a fuck. And then here comes this guy. He draws a comic, and it's, according to you, half-assed, and nobody likes it, and it's mediocre as fuck. But he's still selling millions and millions of dollars. That's going to ruffle quite a few feathers, especially if you keep rubbing it on by saying, I sold 1 million, I sold 2 million, I sold 3 million, and fuck you guys. It's going to lead to some harsh feelings. Now, I don't know who's right or wrong here. The only one that's going to determine that is the courts. But when you have somebody in this position that is already telling you they feel litigious, they feel harmed some kind of way, young Ripa might lose the case with the trademark, for example. But that doesn't mean he's going to lose the case of interference, right? Because we don't know the evidence in this case. And one thing I can tell you, I wouldn't want to be sitting across the table from somebody that has $5 million already in their pocket wanting to sue me because I don't have $5 million. When people get spiteful, he could take $2 million of that, and there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to battle $2 million worth of lawyers. Absolutely not. There's no way. I would have to, just bite the bullet and say, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I'm never going to do that again. Let's just cut it right here. Let me write my letter of apology, because what would you rather do? Write a letter of apology? Or have, one of those lawsuits like Nintendo where the guy has to pay 30% of his salary for the rest of his fucking life? Guys, at some point, it's no longer trolling. At some point, it's no longer opinion. At some point, there's lines you shouldn't cross. Whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if you're in the right or wrong. What really matters is, can you afford it? And sometimes, simply, you just can't. Anyway, guys, this is going to be entertaining. However it ends up, I don't know how it is. Man, this video went long. And these are just a few thoughts, guys. This is just not the truth. These are just some thoughts I had as I was listening to what's going on here. People can chime in and give your opinion, whether you like them or not. For me, it's more of a business legal question. I don't really care. Full disclosure, I bought his first comic. I didn't order the second one, just specifically because I thought it was going to be worth more money because of all the controversy eventually. And if he loses his lawsuit, it's definitely going to be worth more money, right? Because he won't be able to print that name anymore. But I like to see where this ends, because it'd be a really interesting subject, not only for, that part of it, for the trademark part of it, but what responsibilities do YouTubers have when they go beyond commentary? When they reach out to companies, when they interfere with businesses. And I'm not saying this happened here, right? I'm saying let's wait and find out what all this is going to settle. And I guess we'll learn something from that, and we'll learn what the boundaries are and what the law says. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.